I think you have to put him. It would be very unfair to put a semifinalist in mid, but I
Yeah,
really want to.
I swear to God, dude, it has to be the worst bottle job of all time.
Bro, if Inter wins the Champions League final this season, I don't know what I'm going to do, bro. I don't know what's going to happen.
Those were completely different ties to what we saw this time around, with everybody healthy, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, everybody's like, oh, well, one of the big three was not. Everybody played, and they just did not show up. That's your bias.
It is, bro. But, like, let's be honest. In Europe, they're never fucking good. They're never good.
They're not, dude. I don't give a shit if you go to Israel and it's tough to play there because the grass is not to your expectations. You can't fucking lose to that team, bro. I think Sevilla won to lose because they want to play in the Europa League. I think if this was a Europa League tier list, strategically they're like, we can't win this, dude. If you're gonna call yourself one of the big three in Spain, you got to fucking act like it in Europe, and they didn't across 6 games. We're not talking about one, round of 16 matchup. Like, no. Come on, bro. It's like you and I playing. Like, if we played for that Victoria Pilsen team, you'd be like, I don't give a shit if we lose.
I wouldn't care either, bro. I'd be trading jerseys. I'd be getting selfies with players. I mean, it'd be fucking saying, bro. Tumbling, bro. It would actually be a crazy fan experience.
I'd be like, where's Laporta? I want to shake his hand, bro.
Tottenham fans, sorry. Your team shit. You're mad at your team, not me. Hey, guys, really quick. Before you get to the video, do me one quick favor. Like the video down below if you haven't already done so. Subscribe to the channel. Goals TV is on this mission of growing the beautiful game in North America. Whether you call it soccer, footy, football, doesn't really matter. We want to see the game grow in the States, in broader North America. Can't do it without your help. All right. So if you support that mission alone, subscribe to the channel. Plenty of stories being told by fans, content creators, everyone in between. We really appreciate your support. If we could get at least 20 plus likes on this video, I would be massively grateful. Again, just like the video down below, subscribe to the channel, and enjoy. Let's jump in, bro. Well, starting off with Eintracht Frankfurt. They actually had a pretty good finish in groups. They finished in second in a, I'm not going to say it's an easy group. Can we say Group D was easy? I mean, at Tottenham, who we all see.
I would just say it was a Europa League group. It wasn't a Champions League caliber group, but you still got to get out of it,
You still have to get out of it. That's very true. You still have to get out of the group. And they did it, right? They got 10 points. It was actually one of those groups that went down to like the final day of the group play. And
I remember you and I talked about that a lot. Yeah. Every team had a shot at the end.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that, like, from my perspective, I wanted Sporting and Marseille to make it through, and the other two made it through. So it's all right. We're pretty confident that for now, I'm really hovering here. But is this fair?
So the only thing that I'll add is they finished second. They went through to the round of 16, and they got battered by Napoli, your team. That we'll get to them later, but they lost 5-0 in aggregate. They didn't put up a single goal against Napoli. So I would have them, like, if there was an in-between mid, AF, and solid, but we can leave them at solid knowing that there's other teams that are going to be, we can reshuffle it later.
Okay, that's fine. I'm pretty confident by the end of this they're going to be here. Like, I'm almost 100%. But look, that's fine. We'll wait. Tottenham Hotspur. I'm going to leave personal bias aside. Everybody knows on this show I'm an Arsenal fan, and it's been fantastic watching Spurs just bottle every fucking big matchup they've had this season. But that almost included Champions League. They almost found a way to not go through on the final day of groups, which was hilarious. So, but again, they did. They walked into the final group day play, third place, somehow ended up in first, 11 points. And then as far as who do they have in the first knockout round?
They played against AC Milan, and listen to this. First game, they lose 1-0. Second game ends 0-0. The most boring round of 16 matchups I've probably ever seen. One goal across 180 minutes mid-AF.
I'm very, very tempted to put them in shit. Like, very, very tempted to put them in shit.
That's your bias showing, though. That's your bias showing.
It is, bro. But, like, let's be honest. In Europe, they're never fucking good. They're never good.
They're not.
They're never good.
Gonna be good.
Bro, and they're probably not going to make the Champions League next season because, again, even today as we record this today, guys, they lost
this morning
3-1 to Brentford. So, like,
at home, by the way.
without Ivan Toney. Brentford didn't have Ivan Toney, and they still put 3 on him. I don't know, bro. It's
Spursy.
But again, that's Premier League. We're going to try and stick to Europe. So, okay, right now, mid as fuck, potentially on the cusp of shit. All right.
Sure.
This one is to me the first interesting one because there's a
Okay.
ton of ways to look at it. Sporting, but again, I don't think we can factor in what they did in Europa League too much. They still got bounced out in third place with 7 points. So, Andre, where do you have? I feel like if we put Frankfurt in solid, we got to give some love to Sporting, but that's kind of just me.
No, dude, you hit the nail right in the head. I think, especially because that group, like you said, it went down to the wire. Like every week, I remember you and I would talk about that specific group. And I remember a game because Marseille, we'll get to Marseille here in a second, but
Yeah,
those guys I thought were going to win the group. I mean, on paper, with Alexis Sanchez, Guendouzi,
they had a low key good team.
sick squad for sure. And they just got unlucky. I think they tied Tottenham 3-3. They lost at home. Like it was just one of those weird ass groups that were like, what the fuck's happening? So that being said, that group was weird. Sporting, a lot of people will know, especially on this show, that they eliminated Arsenal, which again, it's Europa League, different competition, but they still did it
over 2 legs. It's not like a one-off game. They did it over 2 legs. To me, that's impressive.
And they won in PKs at the Emirates, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Which is really solid. I would give them solid just because if we put Frankfurt there, I think they're pretty similar in terms of how both seasons went along.
And look, I know people will judge, right? I think people will judge because they'll see, if you look at how the group ended, right? They'll see the first place team in Group D behind second and third in this group ahead of them.
Right.
But what I want to emphasize is that Tottenham coming in, right? If you look at last season to this season, Arsenal were considered to have bottled it against Tottenham for that final, top 4 spot. They come in, they finish first place in the group. So you think that the expectation is there for them to make a run and then completely shit the bed with a team that, I mean, we all saw AC Milan and Inter in the semifinal.
Yeah.
I wasn't overly impressed with Milan's team, considering they just coming off of beating Napoli. I think that they're very, like Milan themselves are very 50-50. We'll talk about them here in a little bit. But for that reason, Tottenham should have gone through and they completely botched it. Chelsea, the first time in a long time that Chelsea has looked god awful from the start to the end of the season. Like just has been nowhere near their usual selves in terms of a club, buying up every youngster they possibly can along the way and still not impacting the end result whatsoever. But in terms of Europe, oddly enough, they finished top of Group E, right? 13 points. Actually looked way better in Europe than they did in the Prem. And in their group, we had Milan, Salzburg, and Zagreb. Salzburg and Zagreb, can we just go ahead and say that they're not the strongest teams to be in that group? Sure. Milan was interesting for them. But do you feel like this is another one of those groups that we can consider kind of a mid group? I mean,
yeah, it is for sure. Right? Especially because, I mean, outside of Milan, Salzburg, I think they got like 6 points or something. Zagreb only won 1 game. Like it wasn't like the toughest group to advance. Yeah, they won it. And after they won, let's look at the way that they did. I'm pretty sure they beat Dortmund. Yeah, so they beat Dortmund. Yeah. They were down 1-0 in the first leg, and then they came back and won 2-0, which I'll give them credit for that. But then they played against Real Madrid, and we pretty much batter them.
I think this is fair. I feel like mid as hell, just better than Tottenham because they were top of their group and they still, had to be eliminated by the defending champions.
Right. They won. At least they beat Dortmund. At least they went through beyond the round of 16. But
which was also kind of controversial, if we're being honest.
Yeah. I remember watching that.
That was kind of controversial, but for right now, let's keep them here.
Dude, you know what's funny is that right now, if somebody were to just watch this episode up until this point, they could see your fucking Arsenal jersey on top of your Barcelona jersey right now.
Yeah, bro, dead ass. Like I'm like, no bias, guys. I'm trying to be as unbiased as I possibly can, but it's like these two teams just. And maybe the Prem bias is coming into this a little bit, but they just haven't been impressive. I think there was a lot of expectation for them, and they haven't been impressive. Where I feel like Sporting, they exceeded expectations, and Frankfurt to an extent did kind of the same thing. So before they got their asses whooped by Napoli. So we'll talk about them. Marseille, talk about a team that I think you for sure had as a dark horse.
I did,
and they probably could have been. Again, I think the final 2 matches of that group just changed everything. But with that said, Marseille somehow found themselves at the bottom of Group D.
I would have put them at shit because of that, because I had them as my dark horse, like advancing at least top 2. I had a lot of expectation on paper. When you look at that squad, dude, like especially playing at home, it's tough playing at the Velodrome. Like
The
it
Velodrome
is.
is everything.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
the fact that they played against a group like this, like say if you would have put them in the Chelsea group with Chelsea, Milan, and Salzburg, for example, then yeah, it's a tough group. I'll give you mid. But finishing fourth against Sporting, Frankfurt, and that Tottenham team, they only won 2 games in that group, by the way. They didn't tie a single game, and they lost 4. You can't lose 4 games in that group. So
That's
to me,
true.
that's shit. We'll leave them at the best of the shit. We'll leave them as number 1 of the poop emoji.
And speaking of shit, guys, there's nothing else needs to be said. Okay,
That's it. We can move on.
yeah, that's it. They got scored on 24 fucking times in group, bro. Holy
They scored
shit.
5 goals, which I think they scored. Didn't they score at Camp Nou? And they were
Yeah,
like
they scored
going
1 at the
crazy.
Camp. No, and it's like they won the Champions League final.
Fucking
Like,
Champions League.
I was like, bro. And granted, we already made our 5 subs, and like they got one towards the end, and it's like respect. I'm like, hey, this person got one. That's cool. And it wasn't just us. I think they scored against Bayern too, and it's just like,
yeah.
They were one of the goals against Bayern, and no, sorry, against Inter, not Bayern.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, they scored against some teams who went far in the competition, so respect. Yeah. But bro, I mean,
dude,
Pilsen was never going far.
No, I'll go back to the day of the draw when they were like,
oh my god,
the coach's face, yeah, and they got the group, and it was like the first one was like Inter, I think, and they're like, all right, cool. Second one, Bayern, and then third one, Barca. They were just like, what the fuck?
Group of death, of death, and you're like, okay, cool. As long as we don't end up in that group, we're fine.
And then you get fucked, dude. You know what's funny? I was on Twitter when they scored that goal against Barcelona, and at the end of the game, they're all taking selfies in the locker room with the Barcelona logo in the background. They're stealing like all the towels. Like,
they're actual fans. They're actual fans, bro. They're actual fans.
It's like
bro.
you and I playing. Like if we played for that Victoria Pilsen team, you'd be like, I don't give a shit if we lose.
I wouldn't care either, bro. I'd be trading jerseys. I'd be getting selfies with players. I mean, it'd be fucking saying, bro. Dumb lit, bro. It would actually be a crazy fan experience.
I'd be like, where's Laporta? I want to shake his hand, bro.
Bro,
thanks for having a great VIP hospitality experience, bro.
Oh my god. Okay, anyway, we're moving on from Pilsen. They got absolutely destroyed in that group of death. I felt bad for him. In all honesty, I felt bad. No one deserves to get scored on 24 times in a
and only
group
score
stage.
5 goals.
Yeah, bro. It's honestly it's disheartening. All right, Milan. They made it all the way to the Champions League semifinal after finishing second in the group behind Chelsea.
No,
not one goal in that semifinal.
I know. That to me was the embarrassing part. And by the way, I need to air out something that happened between you and I, because I don't think people know on the podcast or on social media. I'll let you tell the story. It's fine. It's not
it's really not that big of a deal. And I'm over 2 on these, by the way. So Andre and I, instead of doing kind of friendly wagers, which we can do, I always think it's a little more interesting. Yeah, we've done before. I think it's always a lot more interesting to do a kit bet, a jersey bet. I think, to me, those are a lot of fun. Andre and I both collect kits like crazy. We have a bunch of them. And the last time we did this, I think I bought Andre the dragon, the black and white dragon Real Madrid kit, which was fucking hilarious. At least if I lost, that was the kit that I was going to get for him.
That's right.
We did a kit for the semifinal, or a kit bet for the semifinal, Milan versus Inter. I really thought Milan was going to show some fucking pride and show up in a big way. I thought your boy Brahim was going to do something. I thought Leao, even though he wasn't involved in the first leg, was going to be relevant in the second leg. None of that mattered. Didn't score a goal. Didn't do anything. Completely shit on my hopes and dreams. And I had to buy Inter Milan's third kit for this season for the boys. So it is what it is.
It's showing up on Tuesday, by the way. So I can't wait. It's for the final. Ready for the final, baby. Let's go.
That's going to be a good kit to wear for the final for sure. Yeah. I think you have to put him. It would be very unfair to put a semifinalist in mid, but I really want to. I really want to.
I know you do. I would put him solid as number 1 solid, like at least for now, in front of Frankfurt and Sporting, because of the fact that they did make a semi. They beat Napoli, which a lot of people, including yourself, thought were gonna at least make the final of the Champions League. The way that
I really thought, bro,
dude, the way
and how the draw worked out, I was like, bro, they got Serie A teams, and I was like, bro, they're gonna coast right through to the final. I can't wait, and nope, just didn't matter.
So I think for that alone, solid. I think had they made the final or at least showed up against Inter, maybe we can talk about elite. But the fact that they just destroyed Napoli, and then completely forgot to play soccer against their arch rival across 2 legs. By the way, that to me is like, come on, dude. We can lose.
They can't be elite. They can't be
No,
elite.
there's no way because
you
of
have
that.
you have to keep them solid. All right, Salzburg. They didn't do it. They didn't give Milan or Chelsea really anything to fight for in this group. It was just a straightforward group.
Especially with that team, I think, obviously they lost a few players in the transfer window, but at the same time, like against Milan and Chelsea, they only got 1 win, right?
Yeah.
They scored 5 goals. They scored the same amount of goals that Victoria Pilsen did. Like, dude,
yeah,
in a group like that, at least fight for a little bit more. I would put them at shit. Maybe not. Yeah, maybe like a little bit better than Victoria Pilsen, but definitely trash.
Yeah, I would put Marseille above them. I think Marseille.
Yeah,
Marseille. They had more expectations of them, so for that reason they're down there. But
they like I said, that group went all the way down to the wire. Like the last, that last match day 6, every team had a shot. So yeah, Marseille can be a little bit better.
Yeah. And with that said, keeping in line with that theme, and in the same group, we have Zagreb, and I think it's just fair. They finished one place below. They scored 4 goals in comparison to Salzburg's 5. Yeah. Better than Pilsen, but still trash. And we'll just keep that one there. Nothing more needs to be said.
This was going to be interesting, dude.
Napoli. Talk about a team that I really thought, man. They locked up the Serie A so early. I just thought that this was the year they make the run. This was the year that the magic of the Champions League's on full display for the world to see. Mm-hmm. With that said, I would normally be inclined to put them. I still think they're elite in a lot of ways, but they went out to Milan, and so I don't know if it's fair to put them in elite just yet. No, how do you feel?
I completely agree. I think had they put up a fight against Milan, especially because of all the things that you mentioned before, they wrapped up the league way in advance. They were not in the cup. Like, all you got to do is focus on Champions League. This is your shot. I'm not comparing it to Arsenal, like in the league and bottling it. It's completely different because it was across like multiple games, but you got to show up. So I want to put him at elite so bad. I mean, my boy Chucky Lozano, it was a great run. I have family friends that went to Naples for the celebration. Like, I know what it means to the city. And even to Serie A football, right? Like across the entire country, like they're sick and tired of seeing Juve win it. So whenever a team like this has a romantic story, it's always going to be, headlines. But this year, I want to put them as elite, but I just can't. They just have to be solid.
All right, Leipzig. This one's an interesting one because despite how they finished behind Madrid, and actually I would say a pretty good showing, they actually also, I believe, dealt Madrid their only loss in the group. Mm-hmm. They got absolutely fucking destroyed by City. Completely destroyed. So not even close. And that's a decent team, a decent Leipzig team who has young studs on that roster. Do we put them? Are they better than Chelsea?
No,
they're not. Why?
Chelsea won the group. Chelsea won their group. Regardless of how they performed, they at least won a round against Borussia Dortmund. They played against holders against Real Madrid. So Chelsea had a tougher path, in my opinion. I think if they go head to head, the way that I think about this is if they go head to head, who wins? I think Chelsea would edge them out. Leipzig was just so embarrassing to see, like, because I watched pretty much all their games, right? Being in Group F with Madrid, I'm like, all right, let's pay attention to who we're playing against. They beat us. I was like, all right, these guys are going to make some noise. And then they go through and they didn't even put up a fight against City. I'm like, bro. So I would say mid AF, slightly less than Chelsea.
All right, moving on to Porto, who, when we look at the groups, man, I mean,
they won it. They won their group.
They won it. Now, I think in most years, this probably would have been, and even look, if the group stages of the Champions League had been played in the second half of the season, you can argue Atletico Madrid would have been a significantly different team. You can probably say the same thing about Barcelona and their group, which we'll talk about later. But Porto, Bruges, Leverkusen, which even Leverkusen, right? We saw how Xabi Alonso has turned that team around entirely, and they look lethal. So like you almost argue that depending on what time of the year these teams play, just very different versions of them. With that said, I think that there's a lot to be said about Porto, but I think they had more luck on their side because of where these teams were when they played them. But still first in the group. So by that measure, you kind of have to put them
between solid and mid AF. But here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I think they're mid AF, but worse than Chelsea and Leipzig. And here's why. Yes, you win your group. but again, you already mentioned it. You're playing against Bruges, Leverkusen, and Atletico Madrid team that we will definitely talk about did not show up in that competition. The thing that like shocks me the most about them is they played against Inter, which you'd think at the time when the round of 16 draw came up, dude, you could play PSG, you could have played against Bayern, you could have played against all these fucking teams, right? So the fact that they played Inter, you're like, all right, they're going to show up 1-0 across both legs. Didn't put up a single goal, especially at home where the Dragao, it's tough to get a single point out of the Dragao, let alone get a victory.
It's hostile. It's hostile.
You know what I'm saying? And these guys didn't use their home field advantage. I would put them as mid. There's nothing else that I can say about them.
Yeah, that's fair. Are they above or below Tottenham?
They're above Tottenham. They won their group.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. All right. Liverpool. This one is very, very interesting. Talk about up and down across every single competition. But again, they bowed out to the defending champions. So, like, you have to give them some benefit of the doubt.
I mean, losing at home 5-2 at Anfield against Real Madrid, kind of embarrassing.
After you were up 2-0.
After being up 2-0, yeah, you're right. Madrid scored 5 unanswered, which is fucking wild to me. Yeah. They showed up a little bit better at the Bernabeu, but it's just tough. I would say out of all the teams that we've talked about so far, I would put them at elite just because I know that if they were in a different group, they would still go through. Like they had enough, in their power, whether it's offensively or whatever you want, to go through. So I would put them as the first elite team.
I just this little L shape right here bugs me. I don't know why, but it bugs the shit out of me. But we'll get to it. Shakhtar.
In our group, that was a Real Madrid group, I'm pretty sure. Yep. They only got one win.
Bro,
pretty trash. I think
sorry.
I think their win came in the first match day, and then they lost, tied, lost, tied. Like, come on, dude.
Sorry, bro.
So, dude, it's basically like Shakhtar Donetsk has always been Brazil FC 2.0. Like, it's all Brazilians, bro. Like, you have to show up.
Yeah, it is what it is. I can't say anything more about that. I think Pilsen's probably going to end up in the last of all of this anyway, but yeah. We'll see. PSG, an interesting one, considering where they finished, considering how they bowed out of the knockout rounds. But so the 3-0 on aggregate, and against a Bayern team that's kind of been like a little bit up and down this season.
I want to put him as the best mid AF team, like in front of Chelsea. I don't know why I want to so bad. I mean, would you consider
PSG? Because fuck that fan base. I honestly, bro, like.
How do you treat the GOAT like that?
Because they also went out against Bayern Munich, and a Bayern Munich team that still finished top of the group in the group of death. They finished top of the group and were only scored on twice in that very, very competitive group. So, it's like it's still a good team. Now, had they gone out against like Napoli, which is still a good team in my opinion, but it would have been a very, very different scenario.
That's true. You're right.
So I think that like I would put them at solid. It's just where I would put them behind Napoli.
There you go. Between Napoli and Frankfurt.
Sure. I think they're better than Frankfurt and Sporting. But like the expectation for this team was through the roof and they underdelivered massively. But I think this is fair. I think for right now this is fair. Celtic Football Club. It's tough.
Trash. They didn't even win a single game. I think there are only I think there were like 3 teams in the entire competition. Let me just double check. 4 teams that didn't win a single game, and they were one of them.
Yeah, and for the sole reason of them not getting scored on as much as Pilsen's the only reason they're not at the back end of this thing. Sevilla, man, holy shit. Talk about an up and down team this season. At one point, they were 19th place in La Liga. Getting shit on by everybody, by Madrid, by Barca, by Atletico Madrid, like even by the most up and down teams in that league, shitting on them. Even in Champions League, not very great. But then you look at them now, and they knock Juve out to make the Europa League final in the competition they own. I think they're going for their 7th trophy in that tournament.
That's insane to me.
They got to be mid. I mean, they just have to be. But like,
I agree.
I don't know where you put them. I mean, they're not shit in my opinion.
They're not the worst. They're better than Tottenham. Are they better than Porto, dude? Because they won their group.
Okay, so no, actually, you know what? I think this is a good question. This is a good question though, because Sevilla finished 3rd, and Tottenham technically finished 1st. If Sevilla and Tottenham were to play a 2-legged tie, do you think Sevilla wins that?
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually a really good question, bro.
Dude, home field advantage at the Sanchez Pizjuan. I mean, you ask,
Yeah,
you know this. You watch La Liga every fucking week. If you
yeah.
ask Xavi or Carlo Ancelotti or Simeone,
It's a tough stadium to play in, bro. I mean,
dude,
did
the
you see the Juve semifinal? Like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. Like
they
the
were
fans were like
rocking.
on fucking top of them. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
dude, they were rocking. I mean, yeah, I just think Tottenham just bottles everything.
Yep,
I know it's so
you're not
such a
wrong.
biased take, but
You are not wrong.
yeah, I keep Sevilla here.
Agreed.
That's fine with me. I'm cool with that. All right,
Let's do it.
Dortmund. This one's very interesting because I think a lot of Dortmund fans, and I'm a Dortmund fan myself as far as Bundesliga teams are considered. A lot of Dortmund fans will say they got robbed against Chelsea. I think
Yeah.
Jude Bellingham will probably say that they got robbed against Chelsea.
Mhm.
And I think he wanted probably a test against Madrid that never came to fruition.
I'm between mid and solid. I would put them ahead of Chelsea if we go mid. Like they'd be the best mid team, in my opinion. However, then you start looking at Sporting Lisbon, and if they're solid, Dortmund.
I think we got to move Sporting down. We got to move Sporting down.
We move Sporting down, and then we move Dortmund up to solid. In my opinion, I think they got. You're right. Like the second leg against Chelsea was not a little, a lot unlucky for them. Very unlucky for them. So I would say if I don't know if there's a replay, like say it was best of 3. I think Dortmund wins.
All right. For now,
That's good. It looks.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that.
Cool.
Bro, I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'm okay with that. Yeah, fuck it. I'm okay with that. Copenhagen. Shit.
Ooh.
Yeah, that one's gonna be.
I would put them a little bit better than Celtic, probably between Celtic and Shakhtar. They tied 3 games. They only gave up. I mean, their goal differential was shit, but dude, they only scored 1 goal.
So that means they tied one. They tied 2 games 0-0.
Oh man, that's pretty shit. Yeah, I'll let you choose that one.
Bro, low key,
not worse than no, dude, no, not worse.
Okay,
than
fine. But I will say Pilsen scored more.
True, against better teams, dude.
Yeah, against better teams. So
they're
I
in the
think
group of death.
Yeah, bro. So I don't know. Like they have scored on a lot, but Copenhagen could only scored once.
You're right.
In a group that had City, but like also had Dortmund and Sevilla. I don't know, bro. It's just
I'm with you, bro. You're right. I didn't even look at that. Being in that group, that shit's tough. So
yeah. But to score 5 times, like at 24, put that aside. They were gonna get scored on a bunch of times anyway. But like 5 goals in that tough group, I think it's you gotta give them a little bit of credit. All right, guys. Juventus. After Bauming got a Champions League, where in that group, I mean, I think they massively underperformed.
They won 1 game, dude,
and lost
1
5.
game. You lose twice to PSG, great. Losing twice to Benfica, pretty shit. Losing to Maccabi Haifa, dude. I don't give a shit if you go to Israel and it's tough to play there because the grass is not to your expectations. You can't fucking lose to that team, bro. You can't finish tied with points with Maccabi Haifa and hope that goal differential gets you through.
Yeah. They're it's safe to say they're mid. I think you kind of, because of the 3 points in that group, I think you probably have to put them behind Tottenham. It's just only fair.
I agree.
Mid as fuck. All right. This one is the first very interesting team. Look, bro, I'll be honest. I think they massively exceeded expectations.
I agree.
I think you have to put them at elite, in my opinion. I just think they would have beaten Milan. I think them versus Napoli would have been like a fucking banger game. Just talk about 2 teams that aren't scared to attack, to go at you. They took it to PSG in every way. They beat Juventus. I don't know. I think that Benfica, I think they had Enzo. They lost Enzo. I don't know.
Gonzalo Ramos.
Gonzalo Ramos, man. He was balling. I think there's a lot to be excited about if you're a Benfica fan.
Bayern München. They won
the group. They win the group. One of the most elite teams coming into the knockout rounds. Undefeated, only scored on twice.
And PSG, we already talked about it because we talked about PSG, but across 2 legs, dominant, 3-0 aggregate. I would say elite for sure.
Yeah. And I will also say better than Liverpool. I think if Bayern plays Liverpool, they probably beat them.
They go through.
Maccabi Haifa. Look, bro, we're not going to drag you guys too long here.
Well, yeah, I mean, they won 1 game. Juve, whatever. I would say
they did win against Juve, though.
Yeah, and slightly better than most of these teams. I would put him behind Salzburg, between Salzburg and Zagreb, I think. Just because
Fair.
of the group that Salzburg were in with Chelsea and Milan.
Yeah. Now, Atletico Madrid
Oh, boy.
did not do anything in the Champions League. Nothing.
They
Absolutely
won
nothing.
one game. They won one
Won
fucking game.
one game, -4 goal differential, 5 points to speak of in a group that, again, because of who was in there, Porto, Bruges, and Leverkusen. Dude, if either Barca or Madrid had drawn that group, I would have been ecstatic. I would have been like, bro,
Yeah.
we're fucking going through. I can't wait for the knockout rounds. And
Yep.
instead, you have a top 3 La Liga team
That's
embarrassing
so
themselves.
embarrassing, dude. That's
Yeah,
so embarrassing, bro.
So embarrassing. Okay,
Especially
so for
after
that,
how well they've done in the past, you know?
Yeah,
And
bro.
like not
I mean,
losing many players. Like,
the question is, do you put them at the back end of mid or do you put them at the top of shit?
they didn't even qualify for Europa League. Top of
No,
shit.
they ended fourth. Yeah, I think you have
Top
to.
of shit.
I
Yeah,
think you
dude.
absolutely have to. They
It's
were
embarrassing,
absolutely
bro.
awful. Yeah, they were
Like the fact
absolutely
that
awful.
Leverkusen, I mean, they tied in points with Leverkusen, but goal differential, and they only scored 5 goals across 6 games. I don't know, dude. If you're gonna call yourself one of the big 3 in Spain, you got to fucking act like it in Europe, and they didn't across 6 games. We're not talking about one, round of 16 matchup. Like, no, come on, bro. Gotta be
Yeah,
better
I
than that.
agree, bro. I agree wholeheartedly. Okay, so
I hope
with
my
that
boy
said,
Jack. I hope my boy Jack from Deadball TV is watching this. By the way,
he probably will. He probably will. He knows, bro. There's no way he doesn't know.
No, I know, I
And speaking of which, Jack's in the fucking mud, bro. He got Spurs in mid, and he's got Atletico Madrid and shit. It's been a
Not
bad
great.
year. It's been a bad
Not
year
great.
for my boy Jack. All right,
Leverkusen.
Leverkusen.
Tied with Atletico Madrid. We were just talking about that.
They had to change managers. Remember, they had to change managers.
Dude,
through the season.
Xavi Alonso has been solid as fuck, dude. They were like in relegation. They were like
Mhm.
16th in Germany, and he turned it around. I think they won in like a 12 match undefeated streak.
Semifinals of the Europa League. After
Yeah,
after
they made
they
it
probably were
deep.
going to bounce out. Yeah, they made it
Yep.
deep, bro. They made it a game.
So I would rescue that a little bit. I would say mid AF because I think if you have Leverkusen playing against Atletico Madrid, not in the group stage, but in like a round of 16 matchup, for example, I think Leverkusen somehow find a way.
Yeah, I think so too, bro. I think I would put them
between Leipzig and Porto, probably.
Probably, yeah. I think
Well,
I
actually,
like them.
Porto won their group, dude. I keep thinking about that. Like, that
So
has
you
to mean
hear?
something, right? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think the group winners. Yeah, you probably have to. I think this is fair considering where these last 4 teams in mid kind of all ended up, as
Mhm.
far as like placings after they were knocked out of Champions League. All right, Club Bruges.
Dude, they finished second in that group. They got battered by Benfica though in the next round.
Yeah,
I think it was like 7-1 or some shit like that.
yeah.
I want to put him at solid really bad, but with that group, I mean, Porto, Leverkusen, Atletico Madrid. Again, it's not like God tier like Champions League. It's not the Bayern, Inter, Barca group. So like, yeah, cool. You finish second, but then you go through and then you get destroyed. I think they're mid. I think they're slightly better than Leipzig. Maybe not as good as Sporting.
See, I actually disagree, bro. I would because of how bad the knockout round was. No. Because of how bad the knockout round was, I actually would put him here. I think at the end of the day, they had more to say. So
I'll take it.
Yeah, Bruges. I still think they're better than Juve. I think if they play each other, it's probably a very, very close tie.
Fair.
All right, Barcelona. Oh
Oof.
God, bro. Talk about fucking underwhelming.
Bias aside, but dude, honestly, in that group, like I remember
it was a group of death. Yeah, I felt really bad about it because I think that and you and I talked about it a little bit when it happened. I think we all said Bayern was going to win that group. I think I felt really good about Bayern winning that group, even if we did take Lewandowski from them. Like, I just think that they added Sadio Mane. They're still the dominant team in Germany. Yeah, and they're still the machine. Like they know exactly how to play the game and how to get through these rounds. So
I agree.
They made us look like a team that was still figuring it out, which we were. The most disappointing was the Inter matchup, and not because Inter is inherently bad. I think Inzaghi's done well this season with that team. I think against Barcelona, they had a great setup. They played us very, very well.
Barca's the only team that didn't go through. They're the only team that went out to the
All right, that's fair.
And so to me, that means a lot. Yeah, the longevity. Like, surely if they play against each other, but like that shouldn't even be a question because we don't have anybody else like Milan, Napoli, PSG, Dortmund, and Eintracht advance to the next stage. That to
Yeah.
me is just the only caveat. Dude,
Rangers.
I think they're the worst, period. Because here's why. They only scored 2 goals. They lost all 6 games. And it's not like they were in that group that we talked about. They were in Napoli, Liverpool, and Ajax. You have to make Ibrox count as your home field advantage at some point. And they didn't even show up. Like, they're worse than Victoria Pilsen, bro.
Yeah. I would put them not as bad as Copenhagen, but because of the group that Copenhagen had. But I will say that, like, yeah, I mean,
Dude,
like Pilsen
so
scored
shit.
5 goals in the group of death versus, Rangers, who got scored on 22 times, so only 2 shy of Pilsen, and they had an easier group.
They
At the
scored
end of the day,
one goal,
just had
though.
an easier group. Now, this one to me, we're in the final 4 of the home stretch here. This one to me is one of the most interesting ones because of how deep of a run they made.
Mhm.
Yet I was never impressed. Like I said, I think had we gotten
No.
the result in the group, and Barcelona gotten the result in the group stages and received that side of the bracket that they got,
Yeah.
we could have gotten a chance to be in the semifinals against Milan. I think it would have been interesting.
You could easily swap Inter and Barca had those 2 games that we talked about gone the other way around. Say you do tie at the Camp Nou, but then you beat them there, or you beat them at the Camp Nou and then you tie in San Siro and you go through. Barca would have gone all the way through the semis, but because Inter just and they got dealt the better side of the draw, right? I mean, you're playing against Tottenham, who's fucking shit. You're playing against who else did they play against? Milan, which they didn't show up, but whatever. Benfica, Porto. Like,
See, so to me, that would have been interesting, right? Because to me, the most impressive result they got wasn't even the Milan one; it was the Benfica one. I think that them beating Benfica to me was very
because
impressive.
We have them that high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you have them then? No, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, to answer your question, would I have Benfica that high? I still would. I still think that I look at it from a frame of they far exceeded expectations.
Yeah, yeah. No. I don't think Benfica is an argument. My question is then, do you have them as the top solid team, or do you have them in elite just south of Benfica? Because they did. I mean, think about it. They did make a final, regardless of.
And they knocked Benfica out. And look, I'll be honest, bro. I actually would put them here.
Dude, I don't mind that at all, actually.
Yeah, I actually think you put Inter against Liverpool across 2 legs with how inconsistent Liverpool has been.
Inter go through.
Inter probably wins.
Yeah, all right, fair.
But so for me, 3 goals ahead of AC Milan, even though Milan made a semifinal, like 3 goals ahead of them, there's a big gap there. I just still think if Bayern doesn't get City, right, and they get Inter Milan instead, Bayern takes that. I just think
I agree. I mean, makes sense.
Yeah. Ajax moving solid. Into
solid.
Ajax finished third, 6 points.
Maybe not, dude. Because if we have Chelsea as mid AF, Ajax against
they're
Chelsea.
Mid. I think they were mid, bro. I think they have to be
mid. Probably between Bayer, Leverkusen, and Sevilla. Actually, no. They would be worse than Sevilla.
Sevilla went deep. Actually, bro, I'd probably put them like.
That's actually fair.
Here, maybe. Yeah. All right, final 2, which everyone I think will argue probably should have been, the Champions League final. I think at the end of the day, the bracket, the sides of the bracket came out how they came out. But with that said, easily the most entertaining semifinal. Even with what the second leg was. I mean, the second leg, I think it said more about Manchester City than it did about Real Madrid. I think at the end of the day,
I think. Because of what happened last year, Pep was like, we're not fucking doing that again. Like, we're not going to give up 2 goals in the 90th minute for them to go through, even though we were way better for 75% of the entire thing. For sure.
Yeah. So I think the big question with Madrid, because again, defending champions, and I think too, one thing that has to be said about this tie between City and Madrid was that while City was phenomenal, I honestly hadn't seen a team play that well since like 2011 Barca, and it does not take anything away from the run that there's never been, in my opinion, a more magical run than what Real Madrid did last season. But it wasn't magical.
We weren't dominant.
Sheer dominance.
We weren't dominant. Yeah.
It was like the most crazy storylines and the most clutch moments you've probably ever seen an individual team have in one run.
We were down to PSG 2-0 on aggregate
with 30 minutes to go.
In the 60th minute at home.
Yeah. With 30 minutes to go. It's crazy.
Mbappe had scored 2 goals that were called off for offsides. Like, he would have had a hat trick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he would have had a poker, actually, because he scored the first one in Paris. Like,
exactly.
We did not deserve that to win that tie. Fine, we go through. Then we play against I think we played against Chelsea in the
Chelsea,
quarterfinals.
and they came back. They
came back.
made that shit a game in Madrid. In Madrid,
They were beating us 3-0 in Madrid when we're like, oh, this is over. And so,
Benzema shows up, and it's just like,
course.
it's one of those things. And then
So
the City one,
then the
took
City
it
one.
to another
That's
level.
to like elite level. And then obviously Liverpool didn't show up to the final. But
Yeah.
that last year's run is something that a lot of people don't really process or haven't really processed because it's Real Madrid. Yeah, the badge weighs a lot, whatever. But like, dude, that run of beating those fucking got tier teams in that season, never gonna happen again. So that's why I knew, like, going into the City match, especially the second leg at home, we should have gotten more of an advantage. I think we could have won 2-1, maybe 2-0, and that 1-1 gave them a lot of hope. Anyway.
And I agree. I think everybody said, and myself included, I was saying, like, look, if Madrid want to have a chance against this version of Manchester City, they have to win. They win the first game. The first leg has to go Madrid's way, so they have something to defend when they go to City. I think if you had to get goals at Manchester City, it's so damn difficult.
Impossible.
So
I mean, we haven't won at the Etihad ever.
Yeah. So now, with that said, though, I think the interesting question to ask, from my perspective, and I'm really curious for your take here, is: does Madrid beat Bayern in this season of Champions League, considering how good Bayern looked before they were also ousted by City? And the aggregate was basically the same. The aggregate was virtually the same, 4-1 and 5-1. So,
dude, you're going to hate my answer, but I'm going to die on this hill forever, even without the away goals. I think it depends on who closes the second leg. I think if the second leg is at the Bernabeu, we somehow find that mystique of being at Madrid and having to get a win. I think if we go to Bavaria and we have to play against Bayern and the tie is 1-1, I think Bayern win. So it's a coin flip for me. It's tough to say, dude. It really is.
It's really tough.
Now, let's put it this way, even better, actually, for you. Neutral site, for some reason, Bayern beat City, and for some reason, Madrid make it to the final. If the final is Real Madrid-Bayern at a neutral site, who wins? When you know that Madrid don't play finals, we win them.
Probably have to take Madrid.
You
probably have to take Madrid.
I go Madrid.
Yeah. You probably have to go Madrid just because of like the how recent your Champions League dominance has been. And it's not like Bayern. Bayern has like that one Champions League in the last 6-7 years, and they looked kind of sometimes wishy-washy this season. So I think Madrid, because they made it at the end of the day. If there's a tiebreaker here, same aggregate against City, but they went deeper. So I think, but just by that alone, you have to put them top of elite. I don't think you can do anything besides keep one team at that god tier. And I think we all know that it has to be Manchester City. I think that.
No, let me tell you this. Let me tell you this though. If for some reason Inter, for some fucking miraculous reason, like say Haaland gets hurt, Rodri doesn't show up, and Inter somehow win this game,
they're not winning this game, bro.
Dude, I know you want to think that, but I'm just saying, if for some fucking reason it happens,
bro, if Inter wins the Champions League final this season, I don't know what I'm going to do, bro. I don't know what's going to happen. I will stop. I will stop betting on football. I will stop, dealing in absolutes. It's the world will be turned upside down.
Jose's about to start reconsidering this whole like podcast thing. He's gonna be like, I'm into fucking equestrian racing. Like, I don't fucking
bro. I mean, like no shit. Like I will question every football take or opinion I've ever had in my life because I just don't see a world where a team that good and bro. And I will say this: I think if City does somehow lose the final, not only will it be the most impressive Champions League win arguably ever, because
probably
this will feel like if we talked about it before, right? Like if Juve had won the 2015 final,
Barca, exactly,
or if United had won the 2011 final, or if it's just like you walked into those and you're just like, dude, this is so one-sided. This is so David versus Goliath that there's only one outcome. But I will say this from Manchester City's standpoint: if they bottled this, because that's what it will be. It will be a bottling. It will be
the biggest bottle job of all time, I think.
Pep's legacy will be so dented that I don't know if there's anything else City could show us next season that would help him recover. Like,
do you think even? Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. Even if they lose the FA Cup final against United, I think there's more of a chance there that United could beat them, and they're playing at Wembley. It's a 50-50 split when it comes to fans, and United have nothing to lose. Like pretty much, they're like, "Fuck it, we have to win." So if they beat them, great. But if City lose the Champions League final to Inter, I'm gonna put my hand on 1,000 Bibles to tell you that I swear to God, dude, it has to be the worst bottle job of all time. Of all time.
Yeah, probably. Like I can't think of one on top of my head.
No.
That would mean more than this, but it'd be pretty bad, bro.
Yeah.
Pretty
Anyway,
bad.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Either way, though, I think this is fair. I think everything now again, we'll look at this one more time. Last minute shuffling, especially down at the bottom. I think mid and shit probably have the most reshuffling that we could do. I feel like elite and solid are pretty fair. I think maybe some will want us to move Benfica ahead of Liverpool or vice versa, but
I think a lot of people are probably going to say, "Oh, if you're putting Frankfurt at solid, you got to move up Chelsea to solid." Which, fuck you, dude. That's all I'm going to say. Because dude, think about it, like with that much money, with that many players, and getting through. Yeah, you're playing against Madrid, but like, bro, come on, you got to show up.
But look, maybe there's a case. Maybe there's not a case to move Chelsea up, or maybe there is. I don't know. But
That's
maybe there's a
like
case to move Frankfurt down. But if you were to do that, I don't, because like Porto finished first, and like you could argue maybe they need to be here because Sporting finished third. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, that's fair actually, and it did come earlier,
and they lost to Inter, who's now in the final. I tell you what, now that I'm thinking about this, based on where these teams bowed out, Leipzig lost to City. Now, granted, it was an ass whooping, but Leipzig still lost to City. This seems a little more even, I think.
Okay, that's
but then some fans will probably look at this and be like, bro, Tottenham finished above Sporting in groups. How the hell are they at the bottom of mid?
I don't want to hear that, dude. It's the EPL bias talking, dude.
Oh, man.
With that much expectation to go through, win your group, in that group, by the way, which we've talked about plenty in this episode, but to not score a single goal against Milan in the round of 16, that is so shit. You have the greatest striker of all time in Harry Kane.
Yeah, English. Yeah, one of the greatest English strikers of all time. Which he might be that, right? But he still has yet to win anything, and then
win something, bro.
And he landed on the side of the group where he had the biggest opportunity to make a name for himself.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Yeah, bro.
I don't know.
It's one thing to be on the City and the Madrid side where you're just like, bro, you're praying for magic, and you're just praying that somehow one of those big teams bottles it, but. No, that side of the bracket was ripe for the taking.
You can't put Tottenham above a Sevilla team that have made a 7th Europa League final. Like, that's it. That's all I'm going to say. That's my argument right there.
For that reason, though, I think we have to put them against Leverkusen.
Fine.
Yeah, I think you have to. Leverkusen, they got eliminated by Roma. I mean,
that's fair.
Yeah, I think this makes more sense.
Yeah, if you play Sporting against Sevilla across 2 legs, I think Sevilla won to lose because they want to play in the Europa League. I think if this was a Europa League tier list, strategically they're like, we can't win this, dude. It just doesn't.
We're not getting a cup in this trophy. So
glitch in the system. Glitch in the system.
They just lose intentionally. They just throw it.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay. I think, bro. I think we might have it. I think this might be it. Tottenham fans, sorry, your team shit. You're mad at your team, not me. Part of me really wants to switch Frankfurt and Chelsea. I don't know if we want to do that. Chelsea, like again, they went out to Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
They won their group.
Dortmund, but barely. And Frankfurt did a goal.
Yeah, they got rocked by Napoli. So, like, I think that you could put Chelsea ahead of Barca for sure, and maybe you argue ahead of Dortmund based on how the results went. Yeah, I just feel like
fine.
It's hard for me, like because I'm biased, bro. But like, if I'm being objective, I think that Chelsea had a better. They had a better season in Europe. If this is a Premier League tier list, mid as fuck for real. Probably shit in that point. But like, yeah, I think.
So then, in that case, I would honestly put Porto as the top mid team, and then Chelsea up there. I would have Frankfurt behind Porto. Like if they go head to head, I think Porto wins.
This looks good, bro. I like this list a lot.
It looks better. You're right.
Awesome, bro. Any last minute before we wrap up?
No, I think we're good. The last thing I'll say is I love seeing Atletico Madrid all the way down there, man. It's could not be happier.
Yeah,
No
same
bias.
here,
No
bro.
bias.
No bias, but they've been a
I
shit
love
team
it.
in Europe all year, and you can argue in La Liga until very
In La Liga,
recently
too.
they
Yeah.
really haven't been that good. So,
With
all right,
that
guys,
team on paper, fuck yeah, dude.
this is our tier list. This is the tier list, the definitive 2023 Champions League tier list for this season, guys. We're gonna do another one, I think, whenever the group stage comes out for the next season, to kind of pick and choose how we think the groups and the knockouts will play out. But man, I like this a lot.